Hi guys, I hope that you're all doing well. In today's lesson, we'll do more inventory work and let's practice the specific identification method. You're provided with information for the financial year ended 28 February 2026. The business sells high-value second-hand vehicles and uses the specific identification method to value inventory. A perpetual inventory system is maintained. Firstly, we have our opening stock on the 1st of March 2025. In our headings, we have vehicle ID, model description, and our cost price. We have VEH1, VEH2. For VEH1, we have a Toyota Hilux and the cost price is 180,000 Rand. For VEH2, we have a VW Golf 8 and the cost price is 240,000 Rand. Now let's move to the second table. You have our purchases during the financial year. You have our dates, vehicle ID, model description, and cost price. Okay, so under our dates, we have the 15th of May, 12th of August, and 10th of November. For vehicle ID, we have VEH3, VEH4, VEH5. For the model description, we have a BMW, a Ford Ranger, as well as a Mercedes-Benz. We also have our cost price there. Now let's move to the following page. We have our sales during the financial year. Our dates, we have the 20th of June, the 5th of September, and the 14th of January. Vehicle ID, remember these are our sales, meaning the cars that we sold. We have VEH1, VEH3, and VEH4. Model description, we sold a Toyota Hilux, a BMW, and a Ford Ranger. And the selling price, notice in the previous page we had cost price and cost price. Here we have our selling price because we're talking about sales. So your selling price for the Toyota was 230,000 Rand, the BMW was 380,000 Rand, and the Ford Ranger was 360,000 Rand. Okay, so let's see. We had a Toyota, a Golf, a BMW, a Ford Ranger, and a Mercedes. We sold a Toyota, BMW, and a Ford Ranger. So we still have our Golf as well as our Mercedes. All right, we sold VEH1, VEH3, and VEH4. Let's check. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We sold 1, 3, 4, meaning we're left with 2 and 5. So we still have a Golf and a Mercedes. Okay, so the first question says, calculate the total value of the closing inventory on 28th of February 2026. So in the specific identification method, when they talk about closing inventory, they want you to find the value of the cars that you still have or the items that you still have, the ones that you didn't sell. Okay, so remember, we had a Toyota, a Golf, a BMW, a Ranger, and a Mercedes. We sold a Toyota, a BMW, and a Ford Ranger. Meaning, let's make a list. We had a Toyota, a Golf, a BMW, a Ford, as well as a Mercedes. Okay, so we sold a Toyota, we sold our BMW, and we sold our Ford. So we still have the Golf and the Mercedes. Okay, now before I even calculate and show you guys how we do this, I want to make a few notes for you guys. After I'm done writing the notes, you can just take a screenshot and write this in your notebook. So closing inventory under the specific identification method, this is basically the value of the items that you didn't sell. So you look at your information and check, okay, you have your opening stock, your purchases, and you have your sales. So you have to check all the items that you have and you have to check the items that you sold because you'll be given sales as well. So the ones that remain, you'll have to calculate the value of those items. So make sure that you write all of this in your notebook so that you know how to calculate the closing inventory of the specific identification method. Again, if they say the closing inventory, this is basically, let's say closing inventory. This is your closing stock, okay? So they're basically asking you to find the value of the closing stock, meaning the items that you still have. So write all this information in your notebook so that if they're asking your exams, how do you calculate the value of the closing stock under the specific identification method, you know that you have to look for the items that you still have, the ones that you didn't sell. To avoid making any mistakes, let's remind ourselves, we had a Toyota, a VW or a Golf, we had a BMW, we had a Ford Ranger, as well as a Mercedes. All right, let's check. We saw the Toyota as well as the BMW and the Ford. So we still have our VW, and our Mercedes. Okay, so to find the value of the closing stock, we'll say the VW was worth 240,000 Rand. You guys can see that, right? It's here, 240,000 Rand. So let's say 240,000 Rand plus, let me just erase this, but you guys should have this in your notes or when you write your exams. That's definitely okay. So say 240,000 Rand plus, remember we didn't sell the Mercedes, and we said that the Mercedes was worth 350,000 Rand. Okay, so that'll be 240,000 Rand plus 350,000 Rand. And when you calculate 240,000 plus 350,000 Rand, you should get 590,000 Rand. Okay, this is the value of your closing stock or the closing inventory. Now let's move to the second question. 1.2, it says, determine the cost of sales for the financial year ended 28 February 2026. Now, before we even calculate, I just want to define what cost of sales is. I know that we did this in the previous video. When you're asked to calculate the cost of sales, they basically want the cost price of the items that were sold during a financial year. Okay, so in simple terms, you buy your inventory, right? Your stock, in this case you have cars. We bought them at a certain cost. There it is, our cost price. Okay, so when we sell that inventory, the cost of the items sold becomes our cost of sales. Here we have our cost price. You guys can see that, right? This is the cost that we got for buying these cars. Okay, so we get our cost of sales when we sell these cars. Remember, we sold the Toyota, the BMW, and the Ford Ranger. So let me define cost of sales for you guys. So we have cost price of goods that were sold during a financial year. Okay, so that obviously means that we have to check items that we sold. Remember, we sold a Toyota Hilux, a BMW, as well as a Ford Ranger. So what do you think we should do? We should most probably add the cost price of those items. So we have a Toyota Hilux. We sold it first, vehicle 1. Let's look at vehicle 1. There it is, Toyota Hilux. The cost price was 180,000 Rand. Plus, we sold vehicle 3, which is a BMW. Let's look at vehicle 3. There it is, BMW. It was worth, the cost price, was 310,000 Rand. We also have the third car, which is vehicle 4, a Ford Ranger. Let's look at a Ford Ranger. We have vehicle 4, Ford Ranger, 290,000 Rand. Now, when you calculate 180,000 plus 310,000 plus 290,000, you should get a cost of sales of 780,000 Rand. Okay, so guys, please avoid making any mistakes. If they ask you to find the cost of sales or the closing inventory, you'll most probably use these figures in the following examples. So please make sure that you quote the right figures. And again, please write this in your notes under the information that you write for the specific identification method. Let's move to 1.3, calculate the gross profit achieved for the financial year. Again, under your specific identification method notes, please write this as part of your gross profit. You get your gross profit by subtracting your cost of sales from your total revenue. So in this case, what is your total revenue? The total revenue means the money that you make, and you'll obviously make money from your sales, right? So you won't look at opening stock, you won't look at purchases, you'll go to sales. And here at sales, we have our selling price, meaning the money that we sold our cars for. When we sell something, we generate a revenue from that. So our total revenue will be, let me say total revenue, please write it in full so that you don't get confused in your notes. This will be, we have 230,000 Rand, which was the selling price for the Toyota Hilux. We'll say 230,000 Rand. Plus, we also sold a BMW at 380,000 Rand. You have to add the 380. We also sold a Ford Ranger at 360,000 Rand. So this should be 360,000 Rand. And when you add 230 plus 380 plus 360, you should get 970,000 Rand. And this is your gross profit. So can you guys see that inventory is actually a very approachable topic? If you know the formula, or if you familiarize yourself with these tables, you'll be able to quote figures and get your full marks. So when it's time to write your exam, don't panic when you see a lot of columns or rows. Just try to make sense of the information that's given to you. Sit down for a bit, relax, look at the information, and you'll start getting familiar with the question paper. As soon as you see maybe your opening stock or your purchases, as well as your sales, I don't know whether we'll get any adjustments when dealing with the specific identification method, but if you do, just focus on those adjustments as well. We'll do more examples, and you guys will definitely master inventory after this. So this is your total revenue. Remember, we're looking for your gross profit, and we said gross profit is total revenue minus cost of sales. Okay, so to calculate our gross profit, we'll see total revenue, which is 970,000 rand, minus your cost of sales. Remember, in 1.2, we had to calculate our cost of sales, and we said that it's 780,000 rand. So can you guys see that if your cost of sales is wrong, your gross profit will also be wrong? So make sure that you quote the right figures. So we'll see 970,000 rand minus 780,000 rand, which is 180,000 rand. Now this is your cost of sales, 190,000 rand. Now let's move to 1.5. We have to calculate our markup. Okay, so remember I told you guys that your markup percentage is gross profit over cost of sales times 100. So guys, when you deal with, for example, the markup or the gross profit percentage on turnover as well as turnover, so these are financial indicators. What I can advise you is that you should remember all the formulas. Try to cram all the formulas the day before, or practice inventory as much as you can so that you remember the formulas. What your gross profit is so far, and you know your cost of sales as we've done this in the previous examples. So after you've calculated a gross profit, cost of sales, your revenue, and so on, substituting into these formulas will be easy. So our gross profit, we said that our gross profit is 190,000 rand over 780,000 rand times 100. So when you punch this in your calculator, you should get an answer of 24,4, but it should be 24,4% because it's your markup. Now I would say that you should write this in your notes, but you already have the formula as you've watched the previous video. Now let's calculate gross profit percentage on turnover. The formula is gross profit over sales times 100. So you guys know what your gross profit is, and I don't think that we've done sales so far. We've done total revenue. Your total revenue is basically your sales. Okay, so it's the same thing. You have to go to your selling price column and add all of these, but you've done so, and I believe that we got 970,000 rand. Now let's substitute again. You guys do know this formula as I've done it in the previous video, but if you haven't written it, please write it in your notes. So our gross profit is 180,000 rand over 970,000 rand times 100, which is 19,6. This should be 19,6% because it's gross profit percentage. So they might not use this symbol, they might actually say percentage when it's time to calculate. So guys, they won't always ask you the gross profit percentage or the markup or the inventory turnover rate. I just want to introduce them in almost every single activity so that you guys remember the formula. That way it'll be easier for you to memorize it. Now let's find our inventory turnover rate. The formula is cost of sales over average inventory. Okay, remember you have your cost of sales, however you don't have your average inventory. Now let's find our average inventory. Remember our average inventory is opening stock plus closing stock over 2. This will give us our average inventory. This is the formula. Please write this in your notes if you haven't written it before. Now let's substitute. We have opening stock. Remember, we calculated closing stock in the first question. It was calculate the value of the closing stock inventory on 28th of February 2025. So what do you guys think our opening stock is? We have to look at our information 1. We have opening stock. It's right there. It's given to you guys. So for opening stock, we have vehicle 1 and vehicle 2. We have a Toyota, a VW Golf. And the cost price was 180 and 240,000. So we have to say 180,000 plus 240,000. That will give us 420,000 plus the value of our closing stock. We calculated that in the first question, it was 590,000 rand all over 2. So 420,000 rand plus 590,000 rand over 2 should give you 505,000 rand. You now have your average inventory. This is what we've been calculating, okay? Now let's substitute that in. Please write this in your book. I'm going to erase it right now, but you guys have to show this information. You calculated your average inventory. Now let's substitute that in. We have a cost of sales, which is 780,000 rand over 505,000 rand. Guys, as I do more questions, I obviously have to erase because I don't have a lot of space. But when you watch this video, you can watch it for the first time without making any notes. And when you rewatch it, make some notes and look at your phone or your laptop or your tablet. And on the side, you should have a notebook. Whenever I write something, you should follow with me so that when I substitute the cost of sales, which is a figure that we calculated, you can see that it's something that we've done before. We have 780,000 rand divided by 505,000 rand. It should give you 1.5 or 1.5. So this is inventory turnover rate. How many times you've bought and sold your inventory in a year? This is what I said in the previous video. So it should be 1.5 times. We can say 1.5 times per year. Now let's do a theory question. We have explained why the specific identification method is more appropriate for motor traders than the weighted average method. So why is it more appropriate? We could say that the items are expensive, right? Remember when I introduced the specific identification method, I said that it specifies every single product and companies usually deal with them when they have expensive or products that are unique. It could be artwork, cars, houses, different things. So we could say, because they sell vehicles, we could say vehicles are expensive. But that's not all. We could say they also offer highly unique items because they sell cars, right? So as soon as you know what the specific identification method is, when they ask you such questions in an exam, you could just think of different reasons and try to link them to the valuation method. So these could be easy marks for you guys. What else can we say? The specific, because they also mentioned the weighted average. Let's try to link this in the last sentence. We could say the specific identification method, please write this in full, matches the exact cost with the exact revenue. Compared to the weighted average. Remember, in the weighted average, we took everything and we divided it by the total units. We took the total cost and we divided it by the total units. So in the weighted average, we want to find the value of the exact same products. So when you get such a question, in the beginning, we could say the specific identification method deals with items that are unique and they offer items that are expensive. So if they give you this part, they might not compare it with any other valuation method. We could say that it matches the exact cost compared to the weighted average. And I believe that's all under the specific identification method. There are a lot of theory questions and ways in which they ask you to advise business owners. But for now, I'd rather focus on you guys mastering the valuation methods, the FIFO as well as the weighted average, and from there we can try more theory questions. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.